Hello, I'm Soap, and today I'm going to talk about the lore in Mermaid Isles. Since part 1 of the Season of Honor has come out, I'm just gonna say what's out there and the links I see to certain mythologies and stuff. I mean, I will come to some conclusions, and feel free to disagree with me. I recommend pausing to read the scrolls if you haven't already, but I am gonna summarize them, but not very well, so it is better to read them. So that's scroll 1. I mean, in summary, what I wrote was, so we know that the narrator's a knight, and that they have a strong sense of duty, but by that I mean they feel like they're being forced to do this, they have to do this, and they don't particularly want to go to war. Anyways, on to scroll 2. In summary, like I said, restricted by the guiding current, which I'm going to talk about later, but wants to be free. Anyways, on to scroll 3. We get introduced to some new characters who we know are dead or missing, and they are also have shared names of Greek gods. I'll talk about their links later. Okay, scroll 4. And for this one I said losing faith and kind of falling into madness. Okay, the last scroll. Oh, I promise I'll get onto the actual lore in a bit. And this one tells us that the whole army is dead, except from the narrator, among other things which I will discuss later. Before I put my theories out there, I am going to talk about the links of the characters mentioned in the scrolls to mythology and stuff, because a lot of them are deities in Greek mythology. I don't believe that Mermaid Isle takes place in a universe where the Greek gods exist, but I think they're using the names of these Greek gods to kind of show more a parallel rather than them actually being these Greek gods, because I don't think they'll follow the exact same stories as what happens, in Greek mythology. I hope that makes sense. So for this Scoria, I didn't have any links really. I mean, it's a variant spelling of Victoria, and Victoria was the goddess of victory in Roman mythology. But I think that in a way that's just to show that this opposing force, the enemy, is just quite a big threat. The next person mentioned is Polyhymnia, and Polyhymnia is one of the 9 muses in Greek mythology and the muse of sacred poetry and hymns. And in Mermaid Isles we have the power to us, when we sing, it gives us the power to pop bubbles and stuff, so basically music has power. So I think really that is just a link, that the mention of Polyhymnia and the other 9 muses is just to show the power of the arts in the Mermaid Isles universe. And Polyhymnia is depicted wearing a long cloak and a veil with a finger to her mouth, so if we ever see any statues looking like this, we know who that is. Okay, Melpomene is also one of the 9 muses in Greek mythology, so they obviously knew what they were doing while choosing these characters. Muse of sorrow and dramatic emotions. Originally the muse of chorus, and she was associated with sirens because of that. So I think really these choices were just because it links to the idea of sea folk, if you know what I'm saying. She's often depicted with a tragic mask and a dagger, so yeah, if we see a statue looking like that, or maybe we have a flashback, then we know who that is. General Urania. Urania is also one of the 9 muses in Greek mythology, the muse of astronomy, and I think this is also significant because, the importance of stars and astronomy in guiding sailors, etc. She's often depicted with a celestial globe and a compass, so if we see anyone, any statues like that, again, we know who that is. In terms of other things I realized in relation to mythology and stuff, is the location of the shrine is called Selkie's Plunge, and Selkies are in Scottish folklore, they're kind of sea folk that can transform from seals to humans. That is just a loose end there, because I think they're just trying to include many references to just different types of mermaids and stuff in different mythologies. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to kind of talk about who I think the goddess is that's referred to in the scrolls and the who we see around the map, basically in statues and the one we worship at the shrine. I think this goddess is the main goddess of the Mermaid Isle universe. I mean, not necessarily the whole universe, but to the mermaids and stuff, because we live underwater and stuff, so it makes sense that the sea goddess or deity is the most significant one. So who I think it is, I mean, I'm not sure this is true. A lot of the characters are inspired by Greek mythology, but I'm not saying that they're directly the exact gods from Greek mythology. I've already said that. So I think it's Amphitrite, who is the wife of Poseidon, and just because I think it's her because she's the only goddess I know of that is also depicted with a trident, because we know that she has links to the trident, and she's responsible for the welfare of sailors and the calmness of the seas. And I think this is a really good fit because the calmness of the seas is a very main plot point, I guess, during in the Mermaid Isle lore. So I'll get onto that basically now. I'm going to talk about the guiding flow / guiding current now. So as you know, when you go to the furthest parts of the map, it will stop you and say the guiding, you can't go against the guiding flow and stuff like that. And then if you keep on going, it will just teleport you back to the spawn. When I first played the game, I was like, that's kind of crazy for the lore, but now that it's reinforced that this is a powerful force. My point is, we're secluded, we can't go to certain areas and we're being kind of trapped. And in the scrolls, the author of these scrolls talks about this. And it seems like this universe is very structured. I don't know what word to use to describe it, actually. There's a certain way things must be, and that's why there's a guiding flow to stop people from going against that, basically. That's why it says stuff in the scroll 1, it says I'm forced to be strong, brave and agile, and I understand the guiding current, the path that have been laid before me. There's some sort of destiny that you must fulfill. You have a role to fulfill, and if you don't, you're going against the guiding current. And the author of these scrolls, it says, why do I wish to be free? They want to go against the structure, this path that's been set out for them. And with the new update, a certain area, which I forgot the name of, with the weird spirally thing, that now doesn't have the guiding flow, so that definitely has some lore importance, showing that the guiding flow is losing its power to a certain extent. So this links to what I'm going to say about disharmony. At this moment, we only have part 1 of the Season of Honor out, and we know in upcoming seasons there's going to be a minigame in which you encounter the Disharmony Knight. I'm going to say this right now, I think the Disharmony Knight is the person who has written these scrolls, just because they are a knight, and if you've read the scrolls you can tell that they've kind of gone quite insane and they've done something bad. We don't know how involved they are in the deaths of the rest of the army or whoever they are with, but they're kind of responsible for that. So I'm assuming this is the Disharmony Knight, because that's also the other character we know who's going to be introduced in the season. It just makes sense to me. Okay, so yeah, so we know we're gonna learn more about the Disharmony, so I just wanna kind of say things before the rest of the update comes out. In script 5 it says, I could not save them, not even myself. A victim to the disharmony, I swore to fight. So yeah, that direct quote is what makes me think that, as well as them literally calling themselves a knight, that's why I think the Disharmony Knight. Okay, on the topic of disharmony, when you talk to Gold and do her quest, you will be led to a disharmony shard, and then you do a quest to get rid of it. So in a way, our jobs are to stop the disharmony and basically keep the status quo. I think there are two forces working against each other, disharmony and the guiding flow / current, I don't remember the name. Both wrong in their own way, because disharmony, that's chaos. The guiding flow is very strict rule, they can't go against it. We get rid of the disharmony shards to protect this very structured way of living that's caused by the guiding flow, and also to keep away danger. Okay, so let's talk about what the Disharmony Knight did, or the author of the scrolls if they're different people. I'm sorry that this is a really unstructured video. There's just a lot to cover, and I'm just trying to cover everything before the update comes out, and then I'll do some proper theories once I get more stuff. Okay, so originally I thought this war which is taking place was the Ancient War, which the Trident was involved in. So if you load into the game, it will just say a bunch of stuff, give you hints and stuff, and sometimes it says the Trident is left behind from an ancient war. So that's why I thought this war was in reference to that, but that's disproven by the fact that the Disharmony Knight slash the author of the scrolls is literally like talking to the trident and also talking to statues that are in the cave, which I forgot the name of, where the lyre is. All these things have happened before this war, and this is kind of backed up by what it says in Scroll 5, where it says war is a cycle. A mistake made countless tides before. So basically this is not the first war, and it's not going to be the last war. And I think we are going to see a time where Mermaid Isle is going to be in a bit of chaos, disharmony maybe. Viscoria is the enemy they're against, right? And they're referred to as kind of like a marauder captain, so I'm assuming they're like a human, right? Or like a land living person. So in this war I think it is the people of the land versus the people of the sea. We know what happened is Polyhymnia has fallen. We know Polyhymnia is dead, basically. Melpomene all but disappeared, that's what it says. Possibly dead, missing, might be a recurring character. So basically this is a big enemy, but we know that Viscoria gets defeated because in script 5 we know there's a victory, but at what cost? So I think the enemy is like a human or someone on land, I already said that. So this is kind of supported by all the shipwrecks, but that's kind of expected because we're underwater. So basically the Disharmony Knight goes a bit insane and becomes a victim to disharmony as want to fight. That's what it says. Okay, it also says the song binds us, a connection so pure, and that made me think of the Song of Connection, which you get from the you know, the cave with the lyre, and there's like a little statue in the middle holding that Song of Connection, and it helps you find other people. So like in a way we're all connected to each other in the game. So in script 5 it says, tainted by my own hand, for victory ensured. This makes me think that the Disharmony Knight sacrificed the rest of their crew to win this battle, because it said, tainted my own hand for victory ensured. So we know there was victory, but like, again, at what cost? They're all dead. And I think I know where this battle happened, because you can see the spears on the floor, and we know the lionfish mermaids, they're the ones who were fighters, and they're seen holding these spears, and the spears are on the floor, and we know they're dead. So I believe this area is where they are, but I get lost all the time, I don't know the names of the areas, so sorry that wasn't that insightful. My points are, the author of the scrolls is the Disharmony Knight, we're going to see more from them. And I think we might be seeing more of the 9 muses eventually, just because of like because we've already had 3 mentioned. And also these songs of connection, I think they're going to be very important once we get more. In terms of who I think the owner of the lyre is, I don't know, but the instrument of the lyre in Greek mythology is related to Apollo. Do I think Apollo is in the sea? Not particularly. Do I think the muses are in the sea? Either, not particularly. I just think that using links to Greek mythology to show the roles and the importance of the characters in this universe. There's also another one of the muses who's associated with instruments. I forgot the name, but could be anyone really, and we are gonna find out eventually because the lyre doesn't have a use yet. I know this is a really badly structured video, but I'm just trying to put everything I know about the Mermaid Isle lore out there before the new updates. So thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.